Hey everybody, this is Carl, and I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California. With luck, everything is going to go very smoothly on this broadcast today. In the past, I've had issues sometimes with the audio, so with luck, we've figured that all out, and we shall simply proceed. Thank you for joining me today. I do this from time to time, going live with the stream, and it's broadcast on Facebook and LinkedIn and the YouTube as well. So it looks like everything is working the way it's supposed to. So I appreciate your feedback, and what I want to talk about today is a slight bit about what's going on with current affairs, but super fast because I want to go to the topic of the day, which is helping you to be more successful and profitable as the year goes on. So, having said all that, let me proceed. Let's see here. So, part of what's going on right now is, we got two things: the stock market, and this is as of close yesterday. So, when I checked just about an hour ago, it was down for the day. So, you can draw another line down. It sort of zigzagged between 26 and 27,000 last week, and it looks like it's between 24 and 25,000 this week. Who knows how long this is going to last? You don't, I don't, the smartest people in the world don't. But what we do know is in the long term, this correction will finish and we will start moving up again. That has always happened for the entire history of the world. There's no reason to believe it won't happen again. What we don't know is this going to happen in a week, a month, 6 months, whatever? I believe it'll happen. I believe it is. The stock market has been going, very well for about 11 years. I think the 11th anniversary of the expanding economy was either this week or last week. So that's a very, very long period of growth. This was expected. I mentioned this in my State of the Nation address in January. This is not unexpected. It's just a matter of why it happens and when it happens. And so now we're in the midst of it. But it does mean you got to tighten your belt for 2020. So I want to talk mostly about that. Obviously, the other thing going on now is the coronavirus, the COVID-19. And that's one of these things where sometimes this stuff comes up. If that was the good excuse the economy needed to make a correction, that's all cool. It will have an echo effect no matter what happens. I mean, if you think about it, all the conferences that are canceled is going to affect transportation, hotels. All those housekeepers are literally not going to be brought to work because hotel rooms won't need to be cleaned. People who do shipping, it's going to affect the manufacturing, which again echoes all the way around the world. So we're going to see echoes of this in the airline industry, transportation, manufacturing, probably through Christmas. I mean, this will have an echo effect, and with luck, it will be minor and we'll have a quick and strong recovery, but you don't know that. And so one of the things I want to talk about is how do we tighten the belt in a way that it doesn't negatively affect your personal economy? So lots of events are being canceled. And if you want to keep up on this, a really good page is over at ZDNet. If you just Google ZDNet canceled events, you're going to find this page. So you don't have to memorize this long URL. But they're updating it pretty much every day during the weekday. So if you're looking for events that are not canceled, or if you had scheduled to go to something and you want to know whether or not it's still going on, they're listing what is being held still and what is not being held. So anyway, that's a nice resource page for you. But it's a good demonstration of how not just our industry, but lots of related industries are being affected by all of this. Take a screenshot. This is what you want to share on social media. Two important points to remember. First of all, panic is not sustainable. Panic is not a good long-term strategy for anything, but in particular at this moment in time. Don't panic about the economy. Don't panic about the virus. take reasonable, rational steps, and, participate in the economy, but, do not panic. Panic is not one of the things that you should have as part of your toolkit, right? The other thing is, and this is one of my favorite sayings, you are an economy of one. So if you think about it, you have to keep your clients happy. You have to communicate well with your employees, your clients. You have to make one more sale and your business continues to grow. You have to retain clients even if the economy gets very tight. So you need to focus on your business and not be overwhelmed by all the stuff that's outside of your business. You might send everybody home and work remotely. That's totally cool. But that doesn't mean you take your eyes off the prize. You have to just focus on your business as the number one thing that you give your attention to this year, and you will survive, and with luck, you will even thrive. So don't get overwhelmed by all this stuff that's out there. Keep your eyes on what you need to do, which is to maintain the success and profitability of your business. So to that end, what I want to talk about today is, ignore those first few slides and let's talk about how you maintain a limit to your expenses. And to be honest, if you cut off everything before this minute, what I'm going to give you is 10 good points that are always useful for looking at your expenses and limiting your expenses. My brother Arlen used to always say, it's not how much you make, it's how much you don't spend. And there's absolute truth in that. You can make $1 million. You go to conferences, you meet people. Oh, we're a $1 million, we're a $5 million, we're a $10 million company. That number is essentially irrelevant. How profitable is your company? Because there are companies making $300,000 top line revenue and taking home $100,000. There are $1 million companies where the owners are taking home $100,000. Those two companies are equally profitable. I would argue the $300,000 company is more successful because they are making a higher percentage of their revenue as profit. So take some of this advice and think about how can you make permanent changes to reducing your expenses, not just this year, but perhaps forever. So first tip, do you need an office? Offices are expensive. No matter what you do, it costs money to have an office. In addition to the rent, you got to buy furniture, and then you got to buy staplers, and you got to go get networking. You got to have another internet connection, right? If your company is under $500,000 in top line revenue, you probably should not have an office outside the house. Now, you might have a good excuse for why you do, but if the excuse is, it makes me feel like I'm a real business, it makes me feel like my business is legit, this is not 1975, right? Lots and lots of people run their businesses, very successful, large businesses without an office. So, if you got a $3 million company, you got 20 employees, fine. You should have an office, no questions asked. But if you are under 500,000 or under 5 employees, you probably do not need an office. You might want an office. That's not the same as needing an office. So the way to get out of the office and get back to a home office, you have to work on your culture. You have to still have meetings, whether it's by Zoom or at a coffee shop. My company, we recently moved to being essentially all remote, but we've been mostly remote anyway. We try to get together once a month and have a lunch. That doesn't always work, but we try. I do have Zoom meetings to catch up with my employees from time to time. And we have lots and lots of communication between all of us in email and so forth. So we work hard on making it work. And, if you have a PSA or a ticketing system and you have the ability to communicate company-wide through that, it makes it much easier to have a system without actually having an office. And you'd be surprised at how large some companies are. Sometimes over 1 million, sometimes over 2 million, without having everybody go to one single office. It's absolutely possible, so don't just dismiss it, give it some serious thought. Second, get to the cloud. Get rid of your server. I'm sorry, if you think that you need to have a server on site, again, I just remind you, this is the 21st century. Whatever excuses you have essentially amount to that you can't think of another way to run your business. Well, it's time to think of another way to run your business. There is no server on site that was free. I mean, if you made a server with spare parts you collected from used equipment, that's probably not a good server. It's not something you would sell your clients. It's not something you should run your business on. If your server was not made with spare parts, well, that means you are seriously out of pocket for a good server, which might be, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. That's serious money. So think about how else you can run your business. Sell what you should be selling to your clients, right? And use what you know that you should be using internally. Hardware costs money. There's no way around that. Get to the cloud and stay there. If you can't figure out how to do that, give me a call or join the Small Biz Thoughts community, and we will show you the way. So, number 3, document all your processes. And I know that seems like it's unrelated, except documenting processes allows you to run everything more efficiently. It also allows you to push work down to people who are less expensive, right? You don't need to be spending $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for a technical professional to be creating logons on Office 365. That is an administrative function. That is not a technical function. Lots and lots of work can be done by administrative assistants, marketing people, other outsourced people. So push work to people who are extremely good at what they do and who cost a little bit less. And I know that's not good for the technicians out there who are employees, but there's plenty of work for technicians right now. There's absolutely no shortage of legit technical work that they need to be doing. But you can expand your business by having admins do a lot of mission critical work that is simply not technical in nature. So give that some thought. Related to that, you should outsource as much as you can. One of our rules, back in the day was always, if it can be done by an admin, assign it to an admin. If it can be done by, our outsourced back office, have it be done by the back office. This is huge. But think about all of the things that you do in your life where somebody else does it better. My perfect example is always graphics, right? I can do really mediocre graphics. You need mediocre graphics? Give me a call. I will hook you up. But when I need good graphics for my own business, I never create those graphics. I have one person who's an outsourced professional graphic artist. I have another one in-house who does a great job. They are both way better than I am. In fact, a third one is actually better than me on a lot of stuff. So, why would I do anything that is mission critical for my company that's supposed to help me bring money in through marketing? Why would I do that myself? I outsource to people who are better than me. One of my philosophies is something called the paradox of simplicity. And this is basically the idea that we're in an era where everybody thinks that they can do everybody else's job. And the truth is you can do everybody else's job about half-assed, right? So I can create graphics, kinda, but I need to hire other people to do that. I can draft a service agreement, but I actually hire a lawyer to make sure that it's actually legit and can be upheld by state courts, right? I do lots of other things. I hire web programmers. I can create a website, but by today's standards, it's a half-baked website, right? So I hire people who do that for a living, right? The other thing you have to remember is you can't just delegate it and then never check back. Whether your outsourced resource is in India or somewhere across the United States or on the other side of town or in your office, you can never abdicate the work, which means you delegate and then you check in. You say, look, How will I measure success, and how will I determine that we're on target? And you make sure that you follow up with that. Number 5, sort through your expenses in your profit and loss statement. So I used to have an employee for 8 years. Jennifer was my office manager. And one of the things she took on as her own job was to go through the list of all of our expenses. And every month she would pick one thing and ask, how can I reduce the cost on that? How can I reduce the cost of office supplies? How can I reduce the cost of insurance? How can I reduce the cost of, whatever it might be? And she came up with all kinds of ideas. Some she just implemented because they were easily within her power. Others, she were like, hey, this is a big thing. Let's go ahead and see if we can have a meeting about it. The result is we were constantly lowering our expenses. This is a killer. This is something you should look at all the time. What is there in your profit and loss statement that takes up enough money that you should pay attention to it? Most people have an operating expense that is too high. And it might be they're spending too much on payroll, or they're spending too much on, office supplies, whatever it might be. Figure out what it is, cut a little something every month. And I want to be clear. This is something you can do without affecting how you operate on a daily basis. Number 6, vendor pricing. So check with your distributor, check with your vendor. We've all had this case where you look for something at a distributor and you're like, hey, wait a minute. Why is it that I can buy this cheaper on Amazon than I can buy at wholesale? There's something wrong with this picture. So first, I would just ask your distributor. Whoever your rep is, it is their job to help you make more money so that you will rely on them for more business. Now, they may not know that because they may not have good training on why their job exists, but that is why their job exists. Second, talk to the vendor themselves. Are you in the right pricing model? Are you close enough to the next tier that they could just kind of bump you up? Again, you have a rep at the vendor's side whose job is to help you to be more successful. Engage them, have that conversation. And finally, if you don't belong to a group that can get you discounts like ASCII, this is not a paid advertisement. I get nothing if you join ASCII. But, tell them I sent you because I want the points in heaven. But something like the ASCII group, they have huge discounts on all kinds of stuff, and they can get you automatically to the next tier for some vendors. So, if you got somebody that you're thinking about doing work with, go to ASCII and say, can you get me a discount on this? The first time that I ever joined ASCII, it was because the discount I got on my RMM agents was so huge. It basically paid for my ASCII membership for like 2 or 3 years, right? So again, I'm not advertising for ASCII, but there are other groups like that can help you get discounts. Find them and go ahead and take advantage of that. You should be getting the best prices possible. Again, think about if you save in general, look at all of your cost of goods sold. What is hardware and software? Can you reduce that by 5%? Is that a bunch of money? I think it probably is if you're in this industry. Number 7, budget for your travel. And I know this is a weird time of year, but this is true even without today's current situation. But today it's more true than it's been in a long, long time. Go look at what it costs for you to travel to every conference in October, every conference in November, every conference in September. You're going to find it super, super cheap. I frequently find myself at conferences, even in England or Australia, and realize I have paid $500 to $1,000 less than the people that I'm sitting next to because I buy 3 to 6 months in advance. And, you got to sometimes pay even a little bit extra to make sure that you get a refundable ticket, but or something where you would actually be able to like bank that money and use it somewhere else. But again, a little extra after you save $1,000 goes a long way. So it's always cheaper to buy far, far in advance. And right now it's super duper cheap. The other thing to think about is sometimes you can get vendors to sponsor not just you getting into a conference, but the airfare and hotel for conferences other than their own. So let's say the vendor's got their own conference, but you want to go to this one over here. ask your vendor. Like if you've got 2 or 3 primary vendors, go to them and say, hey, do you have funds to help me get to this conference? I know that you're attending and I'll be at the booth and I'll, speak for you if you want, right? Whatever. Work with your vendors. You'd be surprised who has money to help you get to conferences. Don't assume the answer is no, right? Don't have both sides of that conversation. But take care of that. Also, have a simple checklist for everything that you're going to travel to. Who's paying for the airfare? Who's paying for the hotel? Have those arrangements been made? What are you going to do about ground transportation, whether it's Lyft or renting a car, and so forth? Again, some of that stuff can be pre-bought at quite a bit of a discount. So you might use Travelocity, you might use some other service, but however it is, try to plan in advance because the closer you get to it, the more expensive it's going to be. Number 8, there's lots of recurring costs. And I don't mean something where, the Netflix dings you every month. I mean things like every month there are office supplies. Every month we take people to lunch. There's entertainment is no longer deductible on your tax return. So, some of that stuff that you had been spending money on, move it to the marketing budget, right? Or something like that. Another big killer is inventory. And this is even true if you think about the inventory of office supplies. One of the few residual irritations I have from having a physical office for 12 years is that I still have office supplies from when I had a physical office outside the house. Recently, I was looking for a glue stick. I'm like, oh, I know we have glue sticks because I had boxes of them when we closed our office. And of course now they're all dried up and useless. But, we had more staplers. When we closed that office, we had more staplers than we'd ever had employees. I've got tape dispensers in every room of my house, right? Office supplies are easy way to waste money. And one of the things that Jennifer did in cutting our costs at one point is she's made a moratorium. No one is authorized to buy office supplies except her. And we only buy exactly what we think we're going to need in the next 3 weeks. So we didn't stock up, oh, paper's on sale. Let's get, 25 reams of paper. We don't do that anymore, right? So just make sure that those things are under control. Review your credit card charges and go through and say, wow, what's legit and what's not. Absolutely keep what's legit, but be pretty tough on yourself about what's not really something that should be on the business budget. The things that do recur on a regular basis might only recur once a year, but what are you paying for liability insurance, errors and omissions, workers' comp, cybersecurity insurance? All of those things might come in as 1 or 2 payments a year, but every time they come in, call your agent and say, hey, am I getting the best price on this? Sometimes the rates get lower, and of course they have no interest in telling you about that. So you need to put out the effort to say, hey, can I get another 3% or 5%? It can make a difference. Number 9, credit card processing. Almost everybody who's watching this can reduce the cost of their credit card processing. If you are getting credit card processing from your bank, there is a 90% probability you could get a better price somewhere else. And the banks try to pressure people into like, oh, you got your loan with us, and you got your checking with us, and you got your personal with us, and da-da-da-da-da, you should put it all in a bundle. But that doesn't mean they're giving you a good price. This is easy to shop around, and you're virtually guaranteed to save something. And if you think about, you got a $2 million company, take 1% of that as a processing fee and reduce that revenue or reduce that expense, and that's a lot of money you're going to save. So absolutely shop around for your credit card processing. There's no reason for it to be high, and again, there's lots and lots of alternatives out there. So just, Google it and you will find all kinds of merchant services. Number 10, only buy what you need right now. And I know that right now the big thing is toilet paper, but again, office supplies get out of hand very easily, and inventory is another thing. So a lot of people don't believe this. They haven't been in business long enough, or they have fooled themselves into believing it's not true, but there's a reality. Every minute that anything sits in inventory it is becoming less valuable and it is costing you money. Now, you might have a benefit of saying, look, I keep 3 of this particular brand of printer in stock because at any time I want to be able to deliver one to a client. That's cool, as long as you understand that it had a value up here when you bought it and it has a lower value when you deliver it. So as long as you're good with that and you're knowledgeable about that, that's fine. But inventory as a whole always, always, always costs you money. And today, unless there's some reason to believe that the supply chain is going to be bunched up, reducing inventory will always save you money. So those are the tips I had. Final shameless plug for anybody who's interested. We're having an online conference May 19th and 20th of 2020. Totally online. It's always been online. We haven't moved that because of the issues of what's going on. But check out smbonlineconference.com. We'd love to have you join us. We have some amazing speakers as well. So check me out online. I'd love to connect with you on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that happy stuff. I would love to have your feedback. Just put it into Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever. Would love to have any questions that you have, and I appreciate your support, and thank you for watching today. I'm going to push the button that says, here's how to follow me. So thanks for tuning into this live broadcast. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time whenever I get around to it. Thanks. Bye-bye.